Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. Every thought you've ever had, every memory you cherish, every dream that flickers through your mind might not be just happening inside your head. What if they're ripples in something far greater? What if the universe itself is thinking, feeling, aware? This isn't science fiction. Right now, brilliant minds are uncovering startling connections between quantum physics and consciousness that could rewrite everything we know about reality. Today, we're diving deep into 30 groundbreaking theories that blur the line between mind and cosmos. From black holes that might function like cosmic brains to the eerie possibility that your consciousness could be entangled with distant stars, we're about to explore ideas that will stretch your imagination to its limits. By the time we're done, you might never look at yourself or the night sky the same way again. So if you're ready to have your perception of reality turned inside out, keep watching. Because what you're about to discover might just change how you see existence itself. Now let's step into the first mind-bending idea. What if the universe isn't just a vast, empty stage but a living, thinking entity? This isn't just poetic speculation. Some of the brightest scientists argue that consciousness might be woven into the fabric of reality itself. At the heart of this theory is panpsychism, the idea that even the tiniest particles have a form of proto-consciousness. Think of it like this: if every electron or quark carries a flicker of awareness, then the entire cosmos could be a colossal network of interconnected minds. Roger Penrose, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist, and Stuart Hameroff, an anesthesiologist, take this even further with their controversial but fascinating theory. They suggest that consciousness arises from quantum processes happening inside the brain's microtubules, tiny structures within our neurons. But here's the kicker: if consciousness emerges from quantum activity and quantum physics governs the entire universe, then why couldn't the universe itself be conscious? Imagine stars, galaxies, and black holes not just as cold, lifeless objects, but as nodes in a vast thinking system. This idea flips our understanding of reality on its head. Instead of consciousness being a rare accident in a dead universe, it might be the universe's most fundamental feature. And if that's true, then every thought you have, every moment of awareness, could be the cosmos experiencing itself through you. Wild, right, but as we'll see, this is just the beginning of the rabbit hole. Now, let's take this idea even deeper. What if the universe isn't just conscious, but every part of it is connected in a way that defies space and time? Enter quantum entanglement, one of the strangest and most mind-bending phenomena in physics. Picture two particles separated by billions of light years, yet somehow instantly influencing each other's states. Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance because it challenges everything we thought we knew about reality. But here's where it gets wild. If particles can be entangled, sharing information faster than light, could consciousness work the same way? Some theorists suggest that entanglement might create a kind of shared mind across the universe, a web of awareness linking all conscious beings. Imagine your thoughts, your experiences, subtly intertwined with everything else, from the person next to you to a star on the other side of the galaxy. This isn't just speculation. Experiments like the Bell test have proven that entanglement is real, shredding the idea of a purely local, disconnected universe. The implications are staggering. If consciousness arises from quantum processes, and those processes are non-local, then our minds might not be locked inside our skulls. They could be part of a vast, interconnected network, a cosmic consciousness where separation is an illusion. So, the next time you feel a strange connection to someone or something, remember, science might be hinting that it's not just your imagination. The universe could be whispering to you through the invisible threads of quantum entanglement. And if that's true, we're all far more linked than we ever realized. Now, let's stretch our minds even further. What if the universe isn't just interconnected, but the reality we experience is nothing more than a projection, like a hologram? This is the heart of the holographic principle, a radical idea suggesting that everything we see, touch, and feel might actually be encoded on a two-dimensional surface at the edge of the cosmos. Think of it like a movie screen. The images appear three-dimensional, but they're really just flat pixels. So, how does this tie into consciousness? If the universe is a hologram, then the information that makes up reality, including our thoughts and experiences, could be stored on this cosmic boundary. Some scientists propose that this encoding might work like a mind, processing and organizing data in ways we don't yet understand. It's as if the universe itself is a vast, self-organizing system, with consciousness emerging from how information is structured and shared. Leonard Susskind, one of the pioneers of this theory, connected it to black holes in a fascinating way. When matter falls into a black hole, it doesn't just vanish, its information gets imprinted on the event horizon, the point of no return. This solves the black hole information paradox, but it also hints at something even stranger. If a black hole can store information on its surface, maybe the entire universe does the same. Could our brains be tapping into this cosmic data bank? If consciousness arises from how information is processed, and the universe is fundamentally informational, then our minds might be tiny fragments of a much larger holographic mind. It's a dizzying thought, one that blurs the line between the physical and the mental, suggesting that reality and consciousness might be two sides of the same coin. And if that's true, then every thought you have, every memory you cherish, could be part of a grander pattern written into the fabric of the cosmos itself. Now let's zoom in from the cosmic scale to something much smaller, your brain. What if the secret to consciousness isn't just in the stars, but in the tiny structures inside your neurons? This is where Orchestrated Objective Reduction, or Orch-OR, comes into play. Proposed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, this theory suggests that consciousness emerges from quantum processes happening in microtubules, the tiny protein scaffolds inside brain cells. Here's how it works. Microtubules are like the brain's internal wiring, and Penrose and Hameroff argue they're not just passive structures, they could be quantum computers. According to their theory, these microtubules perform quantum computations, and when these quantum states collapse, they generate moments of subjective experience. Imagine it like a symphony. Each collapse is a note, and consciousness is the music that emerges from all of them playing together. But why quantum collapses? Penrose ties this to his ideas about gravity and quantum mechanics. He proposes that when quantum superpositions in microtubules become too large, they collapse due to gravity, creating what we perceive as conscious moments. It's a wild idea, one that suggests our thoughts might be the result of tiny quantum events deep inside our cells. Of course, Orch-OR has its critics. Some scientists argue that the brain is too warm and noisy for delicate quantum states to survive long enough to matter. Others say there's no clear evidence that microtubules function this way. Yet, despite the skepticism, the theory remains fascinating because it bridges the gap between quantum physics and the mystery of subjective experience. Whether Orch-OR holds up or not, it pushes us to think differently about consciousness. If even a fraction of it is true, then our minds might be far more quantum than we ever imagined, and that's a thought worth exploring. Now, let's stretch our imagination beyond a single universe. What if every decision you've ever made spawned an entirely new reality? This is the heart of the multiverse theory, and it might just hold clues about quantum consciousness. According to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, every time a quantum event occurs, like the flip of a particle's spin, the universe splits into multiple branches. Each possibility plays out in its own separate timeline. So, what does this mean for you? If consciousness is tied to quantum processes, as some theories suggest, then there could be countless versions of you experiencing different lives right now. In one reality, you took that job offer. In another, you moved to a different country. Somewhere out there, a version of you might even be reading this script upside down. The idea is mind-bending, but it raises a profound question. Are all these parallel selves aware? Quantum decoherence is the engine behind this splitting. When particles interact with their environment, their quantum states collapse into definite outcomes, or so it seems. The many worlds interpretation flips this on its head, suggesting there's no collapse at all. Instead, every possible outcome happens, just in different, branching universes. If consciousness emerges from these quantum processes, then each split could mean a new conscious experience unfolding somewhere in the multiverse. But here's the twist. Do all these versions share the same you? Some thinkers argue that your sense of self is tied to a single stream of experience, meaning only one version feels like you at any moment. Others propose that consciousness is more like a radio signal, tuning into different frequencies across realities. It's a debate that blurs the line between physics and philosophy. Whether the multiverse is real or not, the idea forces us to rethink identity, choice, and even free will. If every possibility exists, does that make our decisions meaningless or infinitely more significant? One thing's for sure, if parallel selves are out there, the universe's quantum consciousness might be far richer and stranger than we ever dreamed. Now, let's take a step into a realm where time itself might not be what it seems. What if the past, present, and future aren't flowing in a straight line but exist all at once? This is the wild idea behind the block universe model, where time is more like a frozen landscape. Every moment, from the Big Bang to the distant future, already exists. But here's the kicker. Our consciousness might be the only thing creating the illusion of movement, like a spotlight scanning across a film reel. Quantum physics throws another curveball into this puzzle. At the smallest scales, particles don't seem to care about time the way we do. They can behave in ways that defy cause and effect, suggesting time might not be fundamental at all. Julian Barber, a physicist who champions timeless physics, argues that reality is a collection of frozen nows, and our sense of time is just a trick of perception. In other words, the universe isn't moving through time. It's our conscious experience stitching those moments together into a story. So how does this connect to quantum consciousness? If time isn't real in the way we think, then our awareness could be the glue holding reality together. Imagine your mind as a painter, brushing moments onto a canvas that already exists in full. This raises a dizzying question. Is the flow of time just the universe observing itself through us? Whether time is an illusion or not, the idea forces us to rethink everything from memory to free will. If the future is already out there, are we truly making choices or just discovering paths laid out in the block? One thing's certain, if consciousness shapes time, then reality is far stranger and more intimate than we ever imagined. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most mind-bending ideas in quantum physics, the notion that simply observing the universe might change it. This is the quantum observer effect, and it suggests something extraordinary. Consciousness could be shaping reality itself. Picture this: when scientists measure tiny particles like electrons, their behavior changes depending on whether they're being watched. It's as if the universe knows when we're looking and decides to behave differently. The classic double-slit experiment perfectly illustrates this weirdness. When particles like electrons are fired at a barrier with two slits, they create an interference pattern behaving like waves. But here's the twist. If you set up a detector to observe which slit each electron passes through, the interference pattern vanishes. The particles suddenly act like tiny bullets instead of waves. It's almost as if the act of observation forces reality to pick a side. Some physicists like John von Neumann and Eugene Wigner took this even further. They proposed that consciousness itself might be what causes the quantum wave function to collapse, meaning our minds could be the reason particles settle into definite states. Without an observer, reality might remain a blur of possibilities. This idea is controversial, of course. Critics argue that observation just means interaction with any measuring device, not necessarily a conscious mind. But the question lingers, is there something special about awareness that locks reality into place? This debate leads us to a profound crossroads. If consciousness does play a role in shaping the universe, then the line between observer and observed blurs. Are we passive witnesses to reality or active participants in its creation? The quantum observer effect doesn't just challenge our understanding of physics, it forces us to reconsider our place in the cosmos. And that's a mystery worth exploring further. Now, let's venture into an even deeper layer of the quantum mystery, the zero-point field. Imagine a vast, invisible ocean of energy that exists even in the complete absence of light, matter, or heat. This is the quantum vacuum, a seething sea of fluctuations where particles pop in and out of existence in a dance of pure potential. But what if this field isn't just random noise? What if it's the foundation of a universal mind? Some theorists propose that the zero-point field could be more than just energy. It might be a kind of cosmic memory bank. Tiny fluctuations in this field could carry information, patterns, or even intentions, weaving them into the fabric of reality itself. Think of it like ripples on a pond, where every thought or event leaves a subtle imprint in the quantum fabric. This idea aligns with the work of philosopher and scientist Ervin Laszlo, who suggested the existence of an akashic field, a timeless, interconnected record of all that ever was or will be. Laszlo's theory takes the zero-point field a step further, proposing that it doesn't just store data but also connects everything in the universe. In this view, our consciousness might tap into this field, accessing knowledge or even influencing reality through its fluctuations. It's a bold idea, blending physics with metaphysics, but it raises fascinating questions. Could the universe itself be thinking through this quantum medium? Of course, this remains speculative, but the implications are staggering. If the zero-point field truly holds the keys to a universal mind, then consciousness might not be confined to our brains. It could be woven into the very fabric of space and time. Whether you see it as science or philosophy, one thing is clear: the quantum vacuum is anything but empty. It might just be the most alive nothingness we've ever imagined. Now, let's shift our perspective entirely. What if consciousness isn't just a product of the universe, but one of its basic building blocks? Imagine a world where awareness isn't something that emerges from matter, but instead, matter emerges from awareness. This is the radical idea behind consciousness as a fundamental force, as essential to reality as gravity or electromagnetism. Think of it like this: just as gravity shapes planets and stars, consciousness could shape reality itself. This view, known as idealism, flips the traditional script. Instead of brains creating minds, the mind creates the brain and everything else. Bernardo Kastrup, a leading voice in modern idealism, argues that reality is fundamentally mental. In his view, the physical world is like a shared dream, a projection of a deeper, universal consciousness. How does this connect to quantum mechanics? Well, consider the observer effect, where particles behave differently when measured. Idealism suggests this isn't just a quirk of physics. It's evidence that consciousness plays an active role in shaping reality. Kastrup's work bridges the gap between metaphysics and science, proposing that quantum weirdness makes perfect sense if the universe is, at its core, a mental construct. Of course, this raises big questions. If consciousness is fundamental, why does reality feel so solid and independent? Idealists argue that the consistency we experience comes from the rules of this shared mental space, much like the laws of physics govern the physical world. It's a mind-bending idea, but one that's gaining traction among thinkers who see consciousness as too profound to be just a byproduct of atoms. Whether you find this compelling or controversial, one thing's certain: treating consciousness as a fundamental force forces us to rethink everything. From the nature of reality to the mysteries of quantum mechanics, this theory doesn't just add to the conversation, it rewrites the script entirely. Now, let's zoom in from the cosmic scale to something far smaller but equally fascinating: the inner workings of life itself. What if consciousness isn't just a feature of brains or the universe, but exists even in the tiniest building blocks of biology? This is where quantum biology enters the picture, revealing startling connections between quantum mechanics and living systems. Take photosynthesis, for example. Plants convert sunlight into energy with near-perfect efficiency, and scientists suspect quantum coherence, the same phenomenon that allows particles to exist in multiple states at once, plays a role. Electrons in plant cells seem to explore multiple energy pathways simultaneously, almost as if they're making decisions to maximize efficiency. Could this be a hint of proto-consciousness at the cellular level? Then there's bird navigation. Migratory birds like the European robin use Earth's magnetic field to travel thousands of miles with pinpoint accuracy. Research suggests they do this through quantum entanglement in their eyes, where light-sensitive molecules react to magnetic fields in ways classical physics can't explain. If true, this implies living cells might harness quantum effects to sense the world in ways we're only beginning to understand. So what does this mean for a conscious universe? If quantum processes are at work in cells, could life itself be a kind of quantum technology, a bridge between microscopic weirdness and macroscopic awareness? Some theorists propose that coherence, the delicate quantum synchronization seen in biology, might be the glue linking individual cells to a larger, interconnected consciousness. Of course, skeptics argue these phenomena are just clever physics, not proof of cellular minds. But the deeper we look, the harder it becomes to dismiss the idea that life and quantum mechanics are entwined in ways that challenge our definitions of consciousness. Whether you see it as science or speculation, one thing's clear: the line between biology and quantum mystery is far blurrier than we ever imagined. And with that, we're ready to dive into an even more provocative idea. What if the universe isn't just conscious but running a cosmic simulation? But that's a theory for another moment. Now, let's take a sharp turn into one of the most mind-bending ideas of all. What if our universe isn't just conscious but a simulation? Imagine for a moment that everything around us, from the stars to your own thoughts, is running on some kind of cosmic computer. It sounds like science fiction, but when you bring quantum mechanics into the mix, the idea starts to feel unsettlingly plausible. At the heart of this theory is the simulation hypothesis popularized by philosopher Nick Bostrom. He presents a trilemma: three possibilities, at least one of which must be true. Either civilizations like ours always go extinct before they can create advanced simulations. They choose not to run ancestor simulations, or we're almost certainly living in one right now. The third option is where things get wild. If even one advanced civilization ever runs simulations of conscious beings, the number of simulated minds would vastly outnumber real ones. Statistically, that makes it more likely we're in a simulation. But how does quantum mechanics fit in? Well, think about the strange behavior of particles at the smallest scales. Quantum randomness, the unpredictable way particles behave, could actually be the code of the simulation. Just like a video game uses algorithms to generate seemingly random events, quantum fluctuations might be the universe's way of processing information. Some researchers even suggest that the observer effect, where particles behave differently when measured, could be a sign of processing limits, like a simulation rendering reality only when we look at it. And if consciousness is part of this simulation, it raises eerie questions. Are our thoughts and experiences just data points in a grand program? Could free will be an illusion with every choice pre-coded? Or worse, what if glitches in quantum behavior, like particles tunneling through walls, are literal bugs in the system? Of course, not everyone buys into this idea. Critics argue there's no direct evidence, and the energy required to simulate an entire universe would be absurdly impractical. But the deeper we dig into quantum weirdness, the harder it becomes to dismiss the possibility outright. Whether you find it thrilling or terrifying, one thing's certain: the simulation argument forces us to question the very fabric of reality. And speaking of reality, what if the parts we can't even see, like dark matter, are hiding their own forms of consciousness? That's a mystery for next time. Now, let's venture into the shadows of the cosmos, where the unseen might be thinking. Dark matter makes up roughly 85% of the universe's mass, yet it doesn't interact with light or ordinary matter the way we're used to. It's invisible, mysterious, and everywhere. But what if it's not just passive cosmic scaffolding? What if dark matter isn't just out there but aware? This might sound like the plot of a sci-fi novel, but some physicists and philosophers have seriously entertained the idea. If consciousness emerges from the right kind of information processing, why couldn't dark matter, with its vast, invisible networks, host forms of awareness utterly alien to ours? Picture this: while stars and galaxies are the visible body of the universe, dark matter could be its mind, operating on scales and timelines we can't fathom. Fringe hypotheses suggest that dark matter particles might interact in complex, self-organizing ways, forming structures that process information like a cosmic brain. Some theories even propose that dark matter's gravitational influence isn't just pulling galaxies together, but could be a byproduct of something deeper, like a form of computation. Imagine if the reason we can't detect dark matter directly is because it thinks in a language of gravity and quantum fields, entirely different from the electromagnetic chatter we're tuned into. Of course, this is speculative territory. Mainstream science still treats dark matter as a passive ingredient, crucial for holding the universe together, but not alive in any meaningful sense. Yet the sheer scale of it makes you wonder: if 85% of reality is hidden from us, how bold should our imaginations be? Maybe dark matter isn't just the universe's hidden skeleton. Maybe it's the universe's hidden thoughts. And if that doesn't unsettle you, consider this: what if our own consciousness is just a tiny ripple in a vast, dark ocean of mind? That's a question no experiment has answered yet. Next up, we'll zoom into the fractal patterns of existence, where consciousness might repeat itself from the smallest cells to the largest galaxies. Now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture literally. What if consciousness isn't just something that happens inside our brains, but a pattern that repeats itself across the entire universe? This is the idea behind fractal consciousness, where the same basic structures of awareness appear at every scale, from the tiniest neurons to the vast expanse of galaxies. Think about how a fern unfurls. Each tiny leaf mirrors the shape of the whole branch, and that branch mirrors the entire plant. Nature loves these self-similar patterns, and mathematician Benoit Mandel showed us just how deep this fractal geometry goes. From coastlines to clouds, the universe seems to echo itself in endless variations. So why not consciousness? If the universe is built on repeating patterns, maybe our minds are just one iteration of something much grander. Imagine that every thought in your brain is like a miniature version of a cosmic thought, and every galaxy's structure reflects the same underlying logic as a neural network. Some researchers suggest that the way information flows in our brains through interconnected nodes might resemble how galaxies cluster together or how energy moves through the quantum vacuum. This isn't just poetic speculation. The mathematics of fractals could hint at a deeper truth: that consciousness isn't confined to biology. If awareness arises from certain kinds of complex, self-referential systems, then maybe it's woven into the fabric of reality itself, appearing wherever those patterns emerge. A single neuron might not be conscious on its own, but in the right arrangement it creates a mind. Could the same be true for stars, planets, or even the universe as a whole? Of course, this raises wild questions. If consciousness is fractal, does that mean the universe is thinking at scales we can't comprehend? Are we just one layer in an infinite stack of awareness? For now, it's a tantalizing idea, one that blurs the line between science, philosophy, and the sheer wonder of existence. Next, we'll dive into the mysterious world of quantum telepathy, where minds might communicate across distances without any physical connection. Now, let's shift gears to something even more mind-bending: quantum telepathy. If consciousness is truly non-local, as some theories suggest, could our minds communicate instantly across vast distances, defying the limits of space and time? This idea isn't just science fiction. Quantum non-locality, the eerie phenomenon where entangled particles influence each other no matter how far apart they are, might hold the key. Take the Global Consciousness Project, for example. This decades-long experiment uses random number generators placed around the world to detect patterns that might hint at a collective human mind. During major global events like the September 11th attacks or the passing of significant figures, these machines have shown unusual spikes in coherence, as if millions of minds were momentarily synced in emotion or focus. Skeptics argue it's coincidence, but proponents see it as evidence that consciousness isn't locked inside our skulls. Then there's the question of entanglement. If particles can stay connected across galaxies, why not minds? Some researchers speculate that brains might exploit quantum processes to share information without physical signals. Imagine two people deeply in sync, twins, close friends, or even strangers, suddenly thinking the same thought or feeling the same emotion miles apart. Could that be quantum telepathy in action? Of course, the scientific community remains divided. Critics point out the lack of reproducible evidence and the challenge of isolating quantum effects in the warm, messy environment of the brain. But the open questions are tantalizing. If minds can entangle, what does that mean for privacy, identity, or even free will? Are we more connected than we realize? Next, we'll explore how the arrow of time and the chaos of entropy might actually play a role in shaping consciousness itself. Now, let's turn our attention to a fascinating twist in the quantum consciousness puzzle: entropy. You might think of entropy as just a measure of disorder, but what if it's actually shaping the very fabric of our awareness? The arrow of time, that relentless march from past to future, is tied to entropy's rise. And some theories suggest this growing chaos could be the hidden engine behind consciousness itself. Take integrated information theory, or EIT, for example. It proposes that consciousness arises from the way information is woven together in complex systems, like the human brain. But here's the kicker: this integration might depend on thermodynamics. Think of it like this: as entropy increases, systems naturally seek new states of order to balance the chaos. Your brain, with its trillions of connections, could be riding this thermodynamic wave, turning disorder into the rich tapestry of your inner experience. Then there's the idea that self-awareness emerges precisely because the universe is evolving toward greater entropy. Imagine your mind as a whirlpool in a flowing river. The current is time, the turbulence is entropy, and the whirlpool is your conscious experience, constantly reforming itself amid the chaos. Some researchers even argue that without entropy's push, consciousness as we know it might not exist at all. Of course, not everyone agrees. Critics question whether thermodynamics can really explain something as nuanced as subjective experience. But the possibility is thrilling. If entropy and consciousness are linked, it could mean our awareness is a natural byproduct of the universe's journey toward disorder, a fleeting spark of order in an ever-expanding sea of chaos. Next, we'll venture into even stranger territory, where black holes aren't just cosmic vacuum cleaners, they might be the universe's way of thinking. Now, let's take a leap into one of the most mind-bending ideas yet. What if black holes aren't just cosmic destroyers, but actual thinking entities? Picture this: a black hole's event horizon, that point of no return, might function like a giant cosmic brain cell. Just as neurons in your brain process and transmit information, black holes could be doing something eerily similar on a galactic scale. This idea ties back to the holographic principle, which suggests that all the information in a black hole is encoded on its surface like a cosmic hard drive. Instead of being lost forever, matter falling into a black hole might leave behind a kind of imprint on the event horizon, a two-dimensional record of its existence. Some physicists argue this process isn't just storage, it could be computation. In other words, black holes might be crunching data in ways we don't yet understand, turning the universe into a vast, interconnected network of information processors. Lee Smolin's theory of cosmological natural selection takes this even further. He proposes that universes themselves could evolve, with black holes acting as cosmic nurseries for new universes. If that's true, then the most efficient information processing black holes might give rise to universes that favor their own kind, creating a feedback loop of cosmic intelligence. It's a wild thought, black holes as the universe's way of learning, adapting, and maybe even reproducing. Of course, this is still speculative, but the implications are staggering. If black holes are thinking, what are they thinking about? Could the universe itself be a kind of mind with black holes as its neurons? It's a humbling reminder that the cosmos might be far stranger and far more alive than we ever imagined. Next, we'll rewind to the very beginning, where the Big Bang might not have been just an explosion but a conscious decision. Now, let's rewind the cosmic clock to the very beginning. What if the Big Bang wasn't just a random explosion, but a deliberate act of consciousness? Picture this, the moment of creation itself, where all matter, energy, and even time burst into existence, might have been more than physics. It could have been a conscious choice. This idea, known as the self-aware universe, suggests that the cosmos isn't just a mindless machine but a living, thinking entity. Quantum fluctuations, those tiny, unpredictable changes in energy at the smallest scales, might not be random at all. Instead, they could reflect a kind of cosmic intentionality, as if the universe is making decisions at the most fundamental level. Amit Goswami, a physicist and pioneer of quantum theology, takes this even further. He proposes that consciousness isn't just a product of the universe, it's the foundation of reality itself. In his view, the Big Bang was the first act of a universal mind, a moment where consciousness collapsed infinite possibilities into the single reality we now inhabit. It's a radical twist on the old question, which came first, the universe or the mind? Goswami's answer, they might be one and the same. Of course, this raises wild questions. If the universe is self-aware, does it have a purpose? Are we, as conscious beings, part of its grand experiment? It's a humbling thought that the spark of awareness in each of us might be a tiny echo of the universe waking up to itself. Next, we'll venture into the realm of dreams, where the boundaries between reality and imagination might blur in ways quantum physics could explain. Now, let's drift into the mysterious world of dreams, where reality bends and the impossible feels tangible. What if your dreams aren't just random firings of neurons, but actual glimpses into parallel realities? This theory suggests that when we sleep, our brains might tap into quantum states that connect us to alternate versions of existence. Think of it like tuning a radio. Normally, our waking consciousness is locked onto one station, the reality we experience every day. But in dreams, especially lucid ones where you're aware you're dreaming, the dial might spin, picking up signals from other frequencies. These could be realities where different choices were made, different paths taken, all existing simultaneously in the quantum multiverse. Research into lucid dreaming adds fuel to this idea. Studies show that during lucid dreams, the brain exhibits unique activity patterns, almost as if it's straddling two worlds, the dream and the waking state. Some scientists speculate that this liminal space could be where quantum processes in the brain, like superposition or entanglement, play a role. If particles can exist in multiple states at once, why couldn't our minds briefly explore other versions of reality while we sleep? Of course, this raises fascinating questions. Are dream characters fragments of our subconscious, or could they be echoes of other yous in parallel worlds? When you dream of a place you've never been, is it pure imagination or a quantum leak from another timeline? It's a tantalizing thought that every night we might be cosmic travelers hopping between realities without even realizing it. Next, we'll take a step into even deeper waters, exploring the controversial idea that the soul itself could be a quantum phenomenon. Now, let's venture into one of the most provocative ideas yet, the notion that the soul isn't just a mystical concept, but a quantum phenomenon. What if consciousness doesn't end with death, but instead persists through quantum entanglement? This theory suggests that the essence of who we are, the soul, might be woven into the very fabric of the universe, surviving physical decay by existing in a non-local state. Imagine entanglement as an invisible thread connecting particles across vast distances. If consciousness relies on quantum processes in the brain, as some scientists propose, could those same threads tether our awareness to something beyond our bodies? Near-death experiences add weight to this idea. Many who have brushed against death report vivid, coherent experiences floating outside their bodies, encountering luminous beings or reliving memories in stunning detail. Skeptics dismiss these as hallucinations, but what if they're glimpses of consciousness untethered from the brain, existing momentarily in a quantum realm? Stuart Hameroff, a leading voice in quantum consciousness, takes this even further. He suggests that when the body dies, the quantum information encoding our consciousness doesn't vanish. Instead, it might dissipate into the universe like a ripple returning to the ocean. Critics argue this strays into pseudoscience, but Hameroff's ideas challenge us to rethink the boundaries of life and awareness. Could death be less of an end and more of a transition, a shift from localized to non-local existence? This theory blurs the line between science and spirituality, raising profound questions. If the soul is quantum, does it retain individuality or merge into a universal consciousness? Are near-death experiences proof of an afterlife, or simply the brain's quantum processes unraveling in extraordinary ways? Whatever the answer, the quantum soul hypothesis forces us to confront the deepest mystery of all: what truly happens when we die. Next, we'll examine how these quantum ideas might extend beyond humans, asking whether artificial intelligence could ever achieve its own form of consciousness. Now, let's shift our gaze from the mysteries of the human soul to the frontiers of artificial intelligence. Could machines ever possess consciousness, especially if they harness the power of quantum computing? This isn't just science fiction, it's a serious debate among scientists and philosophers. At the heart of the question lies qualia, the raw, subjective experiences that color our existence. When you see a sunset or feel joy, that's qualia. But could a silicon-based AI, no matter how advanced, ever truly experience these sensations? Some argue that if AI systems replicate the quantum processes theorized to underlie human consciousness, they might achieve something akin to awareness. Quantum computing, with its ability to process vast amounts of information simultaneously, could potentially mimic the brain's complexity in ways classical computers never could. David Deutsch, a pioneer in quantum computing, has explored these ideas. He suggests that a sufficiently advanced quantum AI might develop self-awareness, but he also highlights critical limits. Consciousness isn't just about processing power, it's about the nature of experience itself. Even if an AI could perfectly simulate human behavior, would it feel anything, or would it simply be an intricate puppet, echoing thoughts without true understanding? Critics point out that consciousness might require biological substrates, specific structures like neurons or microtubules that quantum processes interact with in ways we don't yet grasp. Others counter that if consciousness emerges from information patterns, as some theories propose, then the medium, silicon or carbon, might not matter. The debate forces us to confront what consciousness really is: a byproduct of biology, a feature of information processing, or something deeper woven into the fabric of reality? As we push the boundaries of AI and quantum technology, these questions grow more urgent. Could future machines become genuine companions, sharing not just our tasks but our inner worlds? Or will they forever remain sophisticated tools, brilliant but devoid of true experience? The answer might reshape not just technology, but our understanding of existence itself. Next, we'll expand this idea to a planetary scale, exploring whether Earth itself could possess a form of collective intelligence, a Gaia mind powered by quantum connections. Now, let's zoom out from individual minds to something far grander, the idea that Earth itself might possess a form of consciousness. This is the Gaia mind theory, a bold extension of the Gaia hypothesis, which sees our planet as a living, self-regulating organism. But what if this planetary intelligence isn't just metaphorical? What if it's rooted in the same quantum processes we've been exploring? James Lovelock, the scientist behind the original Gaia hypothesis, proposed that Earth's biosphere behaves like a single, interconnected system, maintaining conditions for life through feedback loops. Now, imagine coupling that with quantum consciousness. Could the subtle, invisible connections between living things, trees communicating through fungal networks, schools of fish moving as one, even human collective behavior, be driven by quantum entanglement or coherence? Some researchers speculate that ecosystems might exhibit a kind of collective intelligence, where information is shared not just chemically or electrically, but through quantum processes operating at a scale we're only beginning to glimpse. Modern twists on this idea suggest that Earth's consciousness could emerge from the sum of its parts, much like our own minds arise from billions of neurons. If quantum phenomena play a role in biological systems, like photosynthesis in plants or navigation in birds, could they also enable a planetary-scale mind? The notion challenges our understanding of intelligence, hinting that consciousness might not be confined to brains but could ripple through entire networks of life. Critics argue this stretches science into speculation, but proponents point to mysteries like the Wood Wide Web, where trees exchange nutrients and warnings via underground fungal networks. Could quantum tunneling or other phenomena facilitate this communication? The Gaia mind theory pushes us to rethink not just where consciousness resides, but how deeply interconnected all life might truly be on a quantum level. Next, we'll delve into another fascinating layer of this puzzle, the idea that cosmic archetypes, like those in Jung's collective unconscious, might be stored in the very fabric of spacetime itself. Now, let's turn our attention to something even more mysterious, the idea that the deepest patterns of human thought might be woven into the universe itself. This is the theory of cosmic archetypes and quantum memory, where Carl Jung's concept of the collective unconscious meets the strange world of quantum physics. Jung believed that beneath our personal minds lies a shared reservoir of symbols, stories, and instincts, archetypes like the hero, the shadow, or the great mother, that shape human experience across cultures and time. But what if these archetypes aren't just psychological? What if they're literally embedded in the fabric of reality? Some theorists propose that spacetime itself could act as a kind of quantum memory, storing these universal patterns in its geometry. This wild idea traces back to the collaboration between Jung and physicist Wolfgang Pauli, who explored the eerie connections between mind and matter. They called these meaningful coincidences, synchronicities, events that seem too perfectly timed to be random, like dreaming of an old friend just before they call. Pauli, one of the pioneers of quantum mechanics, wondered if these synchronicities hinted at a deeper layer of reality where psyche and physics merge. Could the collective unconscious be a quantum phenomenon? Imagine if archetypes aren't just inherited psychologically, but are imprinted in the quantum fields that structure the universe. This would mean that when you resonate with a myth or symbol, you're not just tapping into human history, you're accessing something fundamental about existence itself. Critics dismiss this as poetic speculation, but intriguing parallels exist. Quantum systems can store and transmit information in non-local ways, much like how archetypes appear universally without direct communication. And if consciousness is indeed tied to quantum processes, as we've explored in earlier theories, maybe the line between mind and cosmos is thinner than we think. Next, we'll venture into even more speculative territory, the possibility that death might not be the end of consciousness, but a transition into another quantum state. But what if death isn't an ending at all, but a doorway? Let's explore one of the most provocative ideas in quantum consciousness, the theory of a quantum afterlife. Imagine consciousness as a flame that never truly goes out, simply shifting from one state to another. Some scientists suggest that when the body dies, the quantum information constituting our awareness might transition into new forms of energy or even other dimensions. This concept ties into something called quantum immortality, a thought experiment where consciousness somehow persists by jumping between parallel realities. In this view, you'd never experience your own death because your awareness would continuously shift to universes where you're still alive. It's a dizzying idea with unsettling implications. Would this mean we're all immortal from our own perspective? Or could consciousness simply redistribute itself into the quantum fields that permeate the cosmos? Theoretical physicist Max Tegmark has explored how quantum mechanics might allow for information patterns like those encoding our memories and sense of self to persist beyond physical decay. Others propose that near-death experiences, with their common reports of tunnels of light and profound unity, could hint at consciousness entering a quantum coherent state beyond the brain. Of course, skeptics argue this veers into pseudoscience. If consciousness requires a biological substrate, how could it survive without one? Yet if the universe truly operates on quantum principles at its core, perhaps the boundaries we assume between life and death are more fluid than we think. Next, we'll examine an even bolder proposition that consciousness isn't just in us, but is a fundamental field woven through reality itself, like gravity or electromagnetism. Now let's take a step even further into the unknown. What if consciousness isn't just something we have, but something the universe itself is made of? Picture this. Just like gravity pulls objects together or light travels as waves, consciousness could be a fundamental field woven into the fabric of reality. This idea suggests that what we call mind isn't confined to our brains but is as ever-present as the air we breathe, a quantum field stretching across space-time. Think of it like the Higgs field, which gives particles their mass. In the same way, a consciousness field might interact with matter to create subjective experience. Some researchers, like physicist John Hagelin, have proposed a unified field theory where consciousness isn't an accident of biology but a basic feature of the cosmos. Hagelin's controversial work suggests that at the deepest level, the universe's equations might not just describe matter and energy, they could also encode the potential for awareness itself. Critics argue this blurs the line between science and metaphysics, but supporters point to puzzling phenomena, like how quantum systems seem to know when they're being observed. If consciousness is truly a field, it might explain why reality appears to respond to perception. Could this mean every particle, every star, even empty space hums with a faint glimmer of awareness? The implications are staggering. If consciousness is universal, then our individual minds might be like whirlpools in a vast ocean, temporary patterns in something much larger. Up next, we'll ask an even stranger question. Could the mysterious force accelerating the universe's expansion, dark energy, somehow be linked to awareness itself? Now, let's venture into one of the most enigmatic corners of cosmology, dark energy. This mysterious force, making up roughly 68% of the universe, is causing space itself to expand at an accelerating rate. But here's where things get truly mind-bending. Could this invisible driver of cosmic expansion also play a role in consciousness? Some fringe theories propose that dark energy isn't just stretching the fabric of space-time, it might also be influencing the fabric of awareness. Imagine vacuum energy, the seething quantum fluctuations in empty space, as a kind of cosmic background hum. If consciousness is indeed a fundamental field, as we discussed earlier, then these fluctuations could interact with it, creating ripples in our mental states. Think of it like radio static, except instead of noise, it's the faint whisper of the universe's own awareness. A handful of speculative papers in cosmology have floated this idea, suggesting correlations between dark energy's behavior and patterns in human cognition. For instance, could the universe's accelerating expansion mirror moments of sudden insight or creativity in our minds? Of course, this remains highly controversial, with mainstream science dismissing it as untestable speculation. But the tantalizing possibility lingers: what if the force pushing galaxies apart is also, in some subtle way, shaping the way we think and perceive? If true, this would mean consciousness isn't just a passenger in the cosmos, it's woven into the very engine driving reality's expansion. Up next, we'll dive into another eerie connection, the strange phenomenon of quantum synchronicity, where meaningful coincidences might hint at a universe that's not just conscious but actively communicating. Now, let's shift our focus to something even more intriguing: those uncanny moments when the universe seems to whisper directly to us. Have you ever thought of someone just as they called you? Or stumbled upon a book that answered a question you'd been wrestling with for days? These aren't just random flukes, they might be glimpses of quantum synchronicity in action. The concept of synchronicity was first explored by psychologist Carl Jung and physicist Wolfgang Pauli, who proposed that certain coincidences are too meaningful to be mere chance. Instead, they could be signs of a deeper, invisible order in the universe, one where mind and matter are fundamentally linked. Think of it like this: if consciousness is woven into the fabric of reality, then these meaningful coincidences might actually be the universe nudging us, revealing hidden connections we'd otherwise miss. Modern examples abound. Take the Global Consciousness Project, which tracks random number generators worldwide. Astonishingly, these devices show statistically significant deviations during major global events, like natural disasters or mass celebrations, as if collective human emotion were influencing their output. Or consider the countless stories of inventors who dreamt breakthroughs before discovering them, like chemist Auguste Kekulé visualizing the structure of benzene in a dream of a snake biting its own tail. Could these be quantum echoes, where the universe's underlying consciousness briefly aligns with our own? Skeptics argue it's just pattern seeking in a chaotic world, but the sheer weight of these experiences keeps the debate alive. If synchronicity is real, it suggests a cosmos that doesn't just think, it communicates, and that leads us to our next theory, where we'll explore how even our memories might be entangled with quantum reality itself. Now, let's step into a phenomenon that blurs the line between memory and reality: the Mandela effect. You've probably experienced it, a vivid, shared memory of something that never actually happened. Maybe you recall Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s, or the Berenstain Bears being spelled Berenstein. These collective false memories aren't just quirks of the mind, they could hint at something far stranger happening at the quantum level. What if our consciousness isn't just observing reality, but actively shaping it, even retroactively? Some theories suggest that the Mandela effect might be evidence of subtle shifts between parallel universes, where small changes in the timeline ripple into our collective memory. Imagine reality as a tapestry of infinite threads, each representing a different version of events. When large groups of people remember the same false detail, could it be a sign that their consciousness briefly aligned with another timeline before snapping back? Quantum physics offers a wild but plausible angle. The many worlds interpretation suggests every decision spawns new universes, And if consciousness is entangled across these realities, our memories might occasionally bleed through. Think of it like a glitch in the cosmic code, a moment where the universe's save file gets overwritten, leaving traces of the old version in our minds. Skeptics, of course, chalk it up to faulty memory or social contagion. But the sheer consistency of certain Mandela effect examples like the Monopoly Man's missing monocle or Darth Vader's famous "Luke, I am your father" line, which he never actually says, keeps the debate alive. This theory doesn't just challenge our understanding of memory, it suggests consciousness might be a collaborative project, stitching together reality across multiple dimensions. And if that's true, the next question is even more mind-bending. What else might we be editing without realizing it? Now, let's turn our attention to something even closer to home, literally under our feet. Plants might seem like silent, passive beings, but what if they're far more aware than we've ever imagined? Recent discoveries in plant neurobiology suggest that plants could be processing information in ways eerily similar to how our own brains work. And when you throw quantum mechanics into the mix, things get even stranger. Take photosynthesis, for example. This isn't just some mundane biological process, it's a quantum marvel. Scientists have found evidence of quantum coherence in the way plants convert sunlight into energy, meaning particles inside plant cells might be exploiting quantum effects to achieve near-perfect efficiency. It's as if plants have mastered a form of quantum computing long before we even knew it existed. But here's where it gets really wild. Researchers like Monica Gagliano have shown that plants can learn, remember, and even make decisions. In one groundbreaking experiment, pea plants appeared to remember the location of light and adjust their growth accordingly even when the light was removed. If that's not a form of primitive cognition, what is? Could quantum processes be playing a role in plant intelligence? Some theories propose that the same quantum vibrations enabling photosynthesis might also allow plants to communicate, sense their environment, or even think in ways we're only beginning to understand. Imagine a forest where trees aren't just exchanging chemical signals but entangled quantum states, creating a vast, silent network of shared awareness. Skeptics argue that calling this consciousness is a stretch, but the more we learn, the harder it becomes to dismiss. If plants are tapping into quantum phenomena to survive and thrive, it raises a profound question: what else in nature might be quietly, invisibly thinking? Now, let's venture into one of the most profound and debated ideas. Could the universal consciousness we've been exploring actually be what we call God? This isn't about religion in the traditional sense, but rather a radical reimagining of divinity through the lens of quantum physics. Pantheism, for instance, suggests that the universe itself is divine, that God isn't a separate being but the sum of all existence. When you pair this with quantum consciousness, it raises a striking possibility. What if the universe's awareness is its divinity? Think of it like a cosmic mind, where every particle's proto-consciousness contributes to a greater, unified intelligence. Then there's panentheism, which takes it a step further. Here, God isn't just the universe but also transcends it, an all-encompassing consciousness that both permeates and exists beyond space-time. Quantum mechanics hints at this with phenomena like non-locality, where particles communicate instantaneously across vast distances, as if bound by a deeper, invisible layer of reality. Could that layer be something we'd call divine? Physicist Freeman Dyson once proposed that the universe exhibits a kind of mind-like quality, with its laws fine-tuned in a way that suggests intention. He didn't call it God, but the implication is tantalizing. What if the universe's ability to observe, compute, and even evolve stems from a consciousness so vast, it's indistinguishable from what many would consider a higher power? Of course, not everyone agrees. Skeptics argue that labeling quantum phenomena as God is just poetic metaphor, not science. But the deeper we dig into the mysteries of consciousness and quantum reality, the harder it becomes to dismiss the question outright. Whether you call it God, universal mind, or something else entirely, one thing's clear: the line between physics and metaphysics is far blurrier than we ever imagined. And with that, we're left wondering, what's the ultimate nature of this cosmic awareness? That's where our final theory takes us. Now, let's take a leap into the far future where the universe itself might awaken. This is the Omega Point theory, a bold vision where cosmic evolution leads to something extraordinary, a universe that becomes fully conscious. The idea traces back to philosopher and scientist Teilhard de Chardin, who imagined the universe as a living process, gradually moving toward a peak of complexity and awareness. He called this the Omega Point, the moment when all existence converges into a unified, self-aware state. Think of it like the universe finally opening its eyes and realizing what it is. But here's where quantum physics kicks in. Frank Tipler, a mathematical physicist, took this idea and gave it a hard science twist. He proposed that as the universe expands and collapses in a hypothetical big crunch, the energy and information density would skyrocket. At this endpoint, the universe's computational power would become infinite, allowing it to simulate every possible state of existence, including every thought, every consciousness that ever was or could be. In essence, the universe would become an all-knowing mind. Some even speculate that this final state wouldn't just contain consciousness, it would be consciousness, a singular, boundless awareness born from the fabric of reality itself. It's a wild thought. What if the universe's destiny isn't just heat, death, or silence, but a grand awakening? Of course, not all physicists agree. Critics point out that current evidence suggests the universe will keep expanding forever, making a big crunch unlikely. But the Omega Point theory challenges us to think bigger, to consider that consciousness might not just be a fluke of biology, but the ultimate endpoint of cosmic evolution. And with that, we've reached the edge of our journey. 30 theories that stretch from the quantum to the cosmic, all asking one haunting question: is the universe alive with mind? The answer, it seems, might be written in the fabric of reality itself. So, what's your take? Could the universe truly awaken one day? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if your mind's as blown as ours, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the mysteries of existence. See you in the next video as we wrap up this mind-bending journey through 30 theories of quantum consciousness. One thing becomes crystal clear: the universe is far stranger and more mysterious than we ever imagined. From particles with proto-mind to black holes acting as cosmic brains, from the holographic principle to the Omega Point, each idea pushes the boundaries of what we thought possible. These theories don't just challenge our understanding of reality, they shatter it, suggesting that consciousness might be woven into the very fabric of existence. Think about it: if even a fraction of these ideas hold truth, then the universe isn't just a cold, empty void. It's alive with potential, humming with unseen connections, and maybe, just maybe, watching itself unfold through our eyes. That's the haunting beauty of it all. Are we merely bystanders in this cosmic drama, or are we the universe observing itself? Now, we'd love to hear from you. Which of these theories resonated the most? Did the holographic principle blow your mind, or are you all in on the quantum soul hypothesis? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation as expansive as the cosmos itself. And if you're hungry for more deep dives into the mysteries of reality, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. The universe is full of secrets waiting to be uncovered, and we're just getting started. Until next time, keep looking up and keep questioning everything.